Hi friends, it's Becky, and I have a really quick project to share with you today. There is a challenge going on in the SilverSilk Silkies Facebook group this week. It starts today, and it's the SilverSilk Diet Challenge. And I find it really useful to have challenges like that, especially with a boutique item like SilverSilk, because often I will buy some and I will hoard it. It will be so precious to me that I'll be afraid to use it. So having these challenges come up to say, hey, make something using this type of silver silk with this kind of a theme helps break me out of that I have to save it mindset and go ahead and make something with it. So with that said, I am going to be making this as part of the SilverSilk Diet Challenge, and I'm going to be using this black capture chain. It has a gunmetal ball chain core with black wire knitted over the edges of it. I have some gunmetal silver silk findings that I'm going to be using, a gunmetal lobster clasp, and several jump rings because I'm going to be making this choker length. And so I'm going to also be joining a lot of these jump rings together to make an extender chain so that it fits best on that. Now the prompt for this one is to use capture chain to make a Queen of the Damned necklace. So this is going to be for all of my goth babies out there. We're going to have a very minimalist Queen of the Damned vampire choker. So I'm going to be cutting off about 14 inches of this silver silk. I'm probably going to need to cut off this last ball here. So I'm going to start measuring from there. And my neck is not 14 inches around. It's a little bit bigger than that, but I want to give myself some room for the findings for the clasp, and also since I am using an extender chain, that will help me size it better around my neck rather than it being exactly the length that I want it to be. All right, so now that I've got my chain, some of the other things that I'm going to be using with this, in addition to these findings, are 2 of these small check glass ovals. You could also use crystal drops if you wanted to. And then I've got a very tiny drook. So these are the 3 beads. Again, it's very minimalist. And then I've got these cherry red, these ruby colored seed beads. So I'm going to be using them as well. And I just got these in my latest Adornable Elements Beads of the Month Club. And you don't need very many of them for this project. I have gone ahead and threaded a beading needle, and you don't need very much thread at all for this. I'm going to use black because it will blend in with this. We're just going to be going out and back a couple of times. It isn't going to be complicated. We're not going to need to do multiple passes through tons and tons of passes through needles. So any beading thread is going to work for this. And any size beading needle will also work because we're not going to be going through like super small, tight beads. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do before we get to this part, because I need to know where to place these using the thread, is I'm going to go ahead and create my closure first, and then we will do our beading thread and beads after that. Like I said, I just needed to cut that little bit there. And now I can use my pliers. Got some chain nose pliers. I'm just going to widen this out a little bit by putting my pliers in here and then forcing it open. It helps make it a little bit easier for it to go in. And these findings have a little lip on the inside that will grab onto the ball in the ball chain and hold it tight. All right, got that in there. I'm going to put this near the back of my chain nose pliers so that I can squeeze down. And I always like to do a little tug test when I do this, because sometimes it doesn't clamp down right and you have to do it again. But a little tug test will tell you if it is attached correctly. And I want this to be facing the same way on this side. There's a little thing on that, and it looks like that is on the opposite side. So let's go in here. And I try to get at least 2 of the little balls in the ball chain into the connector before closing it. There we go. So, all right, that's going to be perfect. So I'm going to find the center of this, and then about 2 inches from the center. Is it going to be 2 inches? Yes. 2 inches from the center. That is where I am going to start attaching my beads. And so I'm just going through with my beading needle through the wire here. Let's zoom in a little bit so we can see what I'm doing. I'm just going through the wire, and I want to leave enough thread on the other side so that I can tie it in a knot and then kind of weave it through this wire a little bit so that it isn't poking out. I'm going to pick up some 11/0 seed beads with my beading needle. I'm going to pick up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then I'm going to pick up 1 of these lozenge shaped oval beads and 1 more 11/0. This is where it gets really, really simple. All right, once those are down there, I'm going to go back up through this column, but I'm not going to sew into this 11/0 at the end. That's going to be my stop bead. It's going to be my anchor that keeps this on here. And so I'm going all the way through. And I'm just going to tip my needle once I get back up here. Once it's through this mesh, I'm going to tip it over here to the side. Once again, you don't need very much thread for this. Go travel along through the flat mesh, maybe about a ½ inch away towards the middle. There we go. And now I'm going to pick up 1, 2, 3, 4 seed beads, my druck, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seed beads. My last check glass. What do you call it? It's lozenge shaped. That's all it is. That's what I think of when I see it. And then 1 more 11/0 seed bead. So I did 4, the druck, 5, my oval bead, and then 1 at the end. And just like with that last one that I did, I'm going to go back up through all of these except for this one at the very end. I'm going to skip that. Come back up through here into the mesh of, sorry, let's scooch so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, and if you can't go through all of them all at once, you can go through a couple of them at a time. this, and then I want to go back to where I started with my needle. If you need to inch it along a couple of times, that's why I chose the black thread, so that it'll blend. I'm gonna just keep going over here to where that thread is coming out. Just trying to travel my, whoop, did you go around that? You did, okay. Try and make sure it doesn't loop on things. I just want it to be the same location as this thread is coming out over here. So let's go right there. Or close enough anyway. All right, and I'm just gonna do a gentle tug on this to try and get these tightened up a little bit, like that. There we go. It's a little bit vampire-y. And I'm gonna do a little quick knot here. I'm just gonna do an overhand knot. And then a second knot, and when I do the second one, it's like a square knot, but I like to wrap this around twice, and that's how you do a surgeon's knot. It's just, for me, a little bit more secure. And then I'm gonna just take this end that's already on the needle and put it back through the mesh a little ways away. It's just a way to get my ends taken care of. And then I'm going to take this other end, stick that on a needle. If I can do that. There we go. And have it go through the mesh in the other direction. And come out there. This is a super minimalist spooky girl necklace. It's supposed to mimic a couple of drops of blood for if you are wanting to do some vampire-y sort of looks like that. And I will do this, I'll show you how to wear it in my wrap-up video so you can actually see it on a person. But there we go. Let's get this. Let's get these bits attached over here to the sides. I've got a jump ring, and then I want to combine some jump rings together to make the extender chain. So let's get our lobster clasp on here. Actually, these two are already combined. Let's just make sure they stay connected. Two that I won't have to combine. There's an individual one that I can use. Go. Super minimalist. And you know, this is just to show that when you do some of these challenges, it doesn't have to be super fancy. You don't have to do like like 5 billion rows of beads on some things, you can just take something simple like this, something easy to do, and meet that challenge. Let's get these. All right. Now, if you have an extender chain, you don't have to do this with the jump rings. I just find it sometimes really easy. If I've got several of these, I can make myself a little chain by connecting the jump rings to each other. Curb chain makes a really good extender chain if you have any of that. That's easy to apply to what you're doing. I want something that's already closed all the way. There we go. Some of these ones that are already all the way closed are going to make it a lot easier to put together. See, we're just making a little chain, just linking some friends together. Oh, hey, look. Wait, no. Let's do this one. Let's open. You're okay, Ellen. All right, let's do 2 more, and then we'll connect it to the other end of my SilverSilk. So these 2 open. Sort of being selective about which jump rings I choose. All right, closed, and now let's connect this. It gives me about an inch of wiggle room on my thing, and I can add more if I want to make it longer, or remove some if I figure it's too long. Oh, it's okay, good girl. All right. So here we go. Super simple, minimalist, Queen of the Damned, choker. With a couple of little blood drops coming down off the side. I'll go ahead and put a link to the SilverSilk Silkies group where they're running this challenge, as well as to silversilk.com where I got my capture chain and my findings. Anyway, I hope you're having a fantastic weekend, and happy spooky season. Happy beading.